Hello everyone, welcome back to my video series here where we create homebrew games for Xbox 360 using Unity 5.4.1. And in today's episode we'll be doing two things. First up, we'll be creating our AI system. So what we'll be doing, we need someone that will brief us on our missions and so forth when we start our first level. The AI will be kind of similar to Cortana, but a little bit different in the approach we're going to implement it. And we're going to go about creating that. And we're going to create the colliders in which when we cross those threshold where we'll be briefing our mission. We'll be doing that also. So I have recorded a few audio files using some AI voice generation online, and we'll be implementing those. So basically, we'll be creating our first mission, well, the first part of it, and we shall go. So be doing a few scripting and so forth within it. So I'll walk you through it, and yeah, let's get started. So first off, we need to create our AI UI interface. So let's in our scene, let's switch to 2D and go all the way out, and we're going to create that an image appear right in the center right here. I have gone ahead and create my own image. You can create yours. So the first thing we need to create a canvas. So we're gonna right click here in our hierarchy, and let's go down to GameObject, UI, and we're gonna go canvas. Yeah, so doing right click here actually created a top level, so it's not a child of any one of these main game object. So let's call this our our AI system. All right, so now we have that, and we're gonna make sure that it is set to scale screen size. All right, and in here we're just gonna create an image for our UI. So we're gonna right click, go to UI. I'm gonna create a raw image. Being that we won't be using a sprite, we're using an actual image. Um, if you convert to a sprite, then you can use image, but I didn't, so I'm gonna use raw image, and we'll create an image there. And let's bring our image up to around there. And that seems about right. And let's make it 150 by 150. Make it a little bit bigger. I think that's fine enough. And we're gonna drag in our texture image. So I keep my material folder. So let's go back to our raw image here, and we're gonna drag AI voice. I'm gonna drag it right there. And let's rename this to assist. AI assistant. Alright. So this is gonna be our AI that talk to us or come on the screen when we doing a mission briefing. So what we need to do next, we need to create our basically our trigger during the stage. So let's go back from 2D and let's go where our player is. So you can open the player game object, go on player, double click, and that should zoom it straight in. Alright. So I have used a smaller scene, create a smaller scene and use it. I realized when I was using those bigger scene is a hit and miss where things function properly. Could be because of memory issues, because unlike doing things in first person, everything is rendered into the scene and nothing actually disappears. Whereas first person, whatever um, the camera is viewing, anything behind the camera is basically not rendered. But here, everything is rendered. So, at some point, the game run out of memory and certain things don't work the way it should. So just make the scene quite smaller so that you can see how everything actually works. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead again and we're gonna create an empty, and we're gonna make sure the game object is 0, and it's where the player is. So let's call this mission. We'll call it mission brief. I think that's smell. And in this, we're gonna have all our triggers, basically. So go back to again, right click, and create empty. And let's call this speech 1. So that's where to put our first audio file is going to be inside of this. And we want to add a collider. So we're going to add a box collider. Create a box. You can bring up the top surface. Alright, so there we have our box collider. And we're going to add our audio source for our audio. Alright, so we're going to create a script that attached to our mission briefing speech. And that's what we're going to use as trigger. So we can put the audio in now and do the script after. It doesn't matter what audio you want to do it in. But we're going to create a script. So let's go to our script folder. And let's call this message to create. And let's call this AI speech. So you may see that there's another mission brief script. So I did that as a test to make sure that things work the way it should. I did encounter a few problems and I resolved it, but you won't encounter that in this tutorial, I'll make sure that you don't. So let's open up our script here in Visual Studios. All right. So first off, being that our AI assistant is going to be basically a UI. Sure, you won't interact with it, but for to keep things consistent and have better practice, so we're gonna be adding the UI reference and that. So go down. So we need to add a public variable where we're gonna place the speech in. So public, and it's going to be an audio source. And let's call this let's call it AI audio. And we need something to make sure that, like a marker to make sure that once we trigger that audio recording or whatever the briefing is, that it doesn't trigger again. So we'll need to be triggered once. So we need like a marker. So we're gonna have a int variable, and we're gonna call it complete. I'm gonna set it as 0. So 0 means that the briefing hasn't been completed. And we need our AI to appear on the screen. So we're going to place our game object. And that's going to be a game object. And let's call this our AI system. Alright, I think that's all we need for this one. So when the scene starts up, we want to make sure that the AI is not on screen. So we're going to make sure that our AI system set to false. So that it doesn't show up. And being that we're working with a trigger collision, so we need a function that will implement that. So it will be a void, because it won't return anything. And be on trigger, because we want this event to trigger whenever time the player walks in it. So on trigger enter. And basically it's triggering the collider. And let's put others. And this function, we want it to trigger when the player walks in. So not just anyone that come across this, because further on we don't want to have a trigger somewhere and enemy come across to the trigger and it actually trigger an event. We want only the player to trigger the event. So we're gonna have an if statement. So others that tag, and the tag actually reads in anything from the game object that you place in it. So if the tag is an enemy, any any game object with that name will cause the trigger. So we want for player, and make sure that when you type in whatever your character name is, whether if it's player or a soldier or anything like that, make sure that the spelling matches, including case sensitivity. Alright, so if the tag equals player and the audio is not playing, because we don't want multiple audio to keep playing and overlapping. So if the AI system size AI audio if it's not playing, that's what we have the exclamation mean not. We want to do a few things. So if it's not playing, we want to check if the audio emission has been played before. So we're gonna have another if statement. So if complete is less than 1, that means that the audio hasn't been played as yet. So being that that's check, we want the actual AI to be on the screen now. So if we want to set the AI system sec active, we want it to be true so that the AI pops up. And once the AI pops up, we want the AI to start talking, basically. So you want the AI audio to play. And we want to tag the complete as 1, meaning that it has been played. So this is what's going to happen on trigger. Alright. So let's save that. Now, one other thing that we're going to implement is that whenever time the audio is playing, we want the AI that's shown on the screen to disappear after the audio finish play. So you don't want to rely on pressing a button for it to display, but you want it to play after. So we're going to do a core routine to check the audio while it's playing, and since the audio finished play, then it should disable the AI system. So in doing that, we are going to make some slight changes. Alright, so let's go down here. So we're going to create a enumerator that will do the check for us. Alright, so it's going to be a private. And we want it to disable AI system. So what it's going to do, it's going to basically check what's happening. All right, so gonna check the audio while it's playing. So we're gonna put a while loop. All right, so while, and we're gonna look for the AI audio. So while AI audio is playing, all right, we're gonna yield a return. So we're not gonna return anything. So this loop will continue while the audio is playing, and then if the AI system, which is the UI for the AI system, equal null, we're going to set it to false. So basically, once the audio stops, we're gonna be disabling the AI system. That's what we're doing in this if statement. So we do the disable of everything right here. Let me just do a quick comment off screen so that you can see what happened. Okay, let's add a few comments in. So now we have some that disable the AI. What we want also going to add is in the update, if it's a mission that you have played already, and let's say you die or something and you're going to go back through, you don't want to have a long mission briefing, so you want something that would basically skip what's skip the audio. Because being that you already know what the mission is, you don't want to really hear it all over again, so you want a way to skip what's going on. So in our update, we're going to add a key function, and we're going to use our X button because it doesn't have a function. So we're going to input get key down, and for the X button on the controller, it's going to be joystick button 2. Right? So if that is pressed, what you want to happen is you need the AI system, and we can just copy the comment. We want this to be disabled if that button is pressed, and we want this audio that's playing. We want it to stop. So this is going to be a stop. So that will stop everything and remove the AI from the top of the screen. So the update basically checks, comes called every frame, and you'll check if you press this, and basically it will stop everything that's playing. So now we have our disable. We want to implement it in our trigger. So it's right there. We're gonna have our, we're gonna get our audio source. So it'll be the AI audio. Alright, get component. And the component here is audio source. So we're going to get our audio source. And we're going to start our core routine to check the audio. And our core routine basically is disable AI system. So that's our core routine function that we're going to call to keep check. So this would basically keep being our check. I think that should do it. So now we're going to save this, and we're going to add what we need to add to it to make sure that it works. So go back to our mission briefing, and we're going to add the script to it. AI speech. No, added the wrong place. Let's remove that. This is our main container. So everything happens on it here. So we're gonna add the script underneath here. AI speech. So we have our audio. So for the audio source with this, it will be itself. And for the AI system, it will be that. I want to make sure that we can disable this if we want, but the script will already have disabled it when it starts. So for our first mission, we're gonna place it on the top of our character. If we want, once you start the mission, this actually triggers, and the character and the AI actually start talking to the character. So we're gonna duplicate this, and we're gonna call it speech 2. Alright, and we're gonna drag this over to this panel here. This panel will open this door. So the way this level is set up, you have your shuttle. This is going to be your escape. Over here is the med bay. You have a key there. Over here is the armory. You have weapons and ammo, and another key. And over here, you have your blue key. And over here, you have your panel that opens this door for you to go to the shuttle. So each door is basically locked and need a key. And we have guards that patrolling. And there's your waypoint for the enemy to patrol. and everything. And our mission is basically to escape alive and reach the shuttle. You won't get a mission complete when you reach the shuttle. We just want to reach close to the shuttle. We'll explore that in our next lesson, like mission complete, and probably transfer to a different level. But for now, we're just going to do the mission briefing. So what we're going to do, we're going to save our scene, save everything here. Now let's make sure for this, want to make sure that we choose the right audio. So it'll be speech 2 for this audio source, and audio source speech 2. Okay. 1. That's 1. All right. So we're gonna build this, and we're gonna go on over on our Xbox, and we're gonna start up this scene. Let me make sure that everything is here. So main menu, that. Alright, so I'm gonna go over to the Xbox and let's see how it plays. Alright. One other thing I forgot to mention before you do your build, for speech 1 and speech 2, you want to make sure that the box collider is checked. So you want it to actually trigger when the player walks in. As for the audio setting, you want to uncheck plain awake and make sure that bypass reverb zone is checked on both. And for your background sound, you want to reduce it to 0.09 because you don't want the background music to be louder than the AI that's talking. You want to actually do that. And I think that's the only thing I've almost forgot to mention. And then you should be good to go. Alright, so we're now on our console and we're gonna start up the scene and let's see how it actually plays out. Alright, let's get in our game.
Where? What the hell happened? Cryobase fried. I can't see a damn thing.
Vital signs. Unstable but rising. Welcome back, Operative Voss. Cryogenic interruption detected.
Yeah, no kidding. Everyone's dead.
Motion sensors report multiple biosignatures in close proximity. Classification: thralls. Unstable, erratic, and highly aggressive.
Great. Waking up to monsters. Exactly how I wanted to start my day.
You are currently unarmed. Recommend stealth, distraction, and close quarters avoidance. Your combat knife is stored in your chest compartment, deploying.
This isn't much, but it's better than nothing.
Before exit, I must update you on facility access. There are 3 known keycards stored within the station. Armory access key, blue. Sick bay access key, yellow. Research lab access key, red. All 3 unlock different sectors required for escape.
And where's our ride out of here?
The research lab controls the main panel that opens the shuttle bay doors. Without the red lab key, exfiltration is impossible.
Figures. Nothing's ever simple.
Alright, so we managed to get out of there. Alright, so we need a key for that. Let's go back to Search this room. And we don't have a key yet, so if we collect this, should have a key. Alright, so let's equip ourselves. And you can basically carry 2 weapons. So switch between your machine gun and your shotgun. Let's grab another key. Yeah, so that door is locked. Yellow key would open here. There we have our red key. And our red key should open this panel over here. This panel actually leads to the shuttle bay. And that's basically at the shuttle. I did notice that so the enemies that we are patrolling disappear. That's one thing I'm still have to look into. And I don't know, it's probably just me it's happening to. I don't know if it's happening to anyone else, but I'll look into that. But yeah, that's what we actually had our audio briefing. If you check inventory, we have all 3 keys. And yeah, and that's it for today's lesson. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I'll see you again in the next video.